Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And something I actually started last year but forgot to keep continuing on is going through the entire Studio Ghibli collection. So today I'm doing the 1989 film Kiki's Delivery Service. Here is your trivia question for today. What kind of pie does Kiki help bake and then deliver? The answer will be at the end of this episode. In Kiki's Delivery Service, our main character of Kiki has turned 13 years old. And being a witch, that means that she now has to travel to a random town, spend a year there finding out what it means to be a witch, and then she can come back home. She begins her journey flying off on her broomstick and only having one companion, and that would be her black cat Gigi. She eventually finds her new home in the seaside city of Koriko. After causing a little bit of chaos, she eventually lands at a bakery. Osono, the woman who runs that shop, realizes how handy Kiki could be at helping her deliver her goods. So she offers Kiki a place to live and even an ability to advertise her delivery service in her bakery. After a little bit, her delivery service really starts to take off. She also makes friends with a boy in town named Tombo. A problem does start to arise, though, as Kiki's magic starts to fade. Will she be able to regain control of it and truly find out what it means to be a witch? This animated feature was directed and co-written by Hayao Miyazaki. Originally, he was just going to be the producer, but he ended up not liking Nobayuki Ishiki's script. Also, this was supposed to be Sanao Katabuchi's directorial debut, but Miyazaki decided to direct it after all, and Katabuchi became the assistant director. Also, if you never noticed, an animated version of Miyazaki does appear in the film. During the sequence when the street sweeper says, "That's my broom she used," he's in the upper right corner. The movie is based off the 1985 novel of the same name. Now, some of the elements that would be used in the film would later on be added into the second book called Kiki and Her New Magic. If you're a fan of the novels, you may notice that Kiki has very long hair, but for the movie they changed it to short hair. This is just so it was easier for the animators. The story takes place in an alternate 1950s Europe where World War I and World War II never happened. Miyazaki states that the fictional city of Koriko has on one side of it the shores of the Mediterranean and on the other the Baltic Sea, which would be completely impossible. Now, he and his artists did take a lot of inspiration from different cities, including Stockholm, Sweden, Lisbon, Portugal, Paris, France, San Francisco, California, and Milan, Italy. The animators used 462 colors throughout this film. The first company to do an English dub of this movie was Streamline Pictures, but the only one that you can find nowadays is the one that was dubbed by Disney. When Kiki first arrives in the city, she is almost hit by a bus that on it says the words Studio Ghibli. If you're at all curious as to why at the end of the film Kiki still can't understand Gigi, number one, that's because you are in fact watching the Disney version as they chose to go that route, and number two, in the original book, a witch and her cat grow up together, but once they've matured, they can apparently no longer talk. Ursula's painting is titled The Ship Flying Over the Rainbow, and it was actually painted by students of a school for challenged children. During the Zeppelin accident, the radio broadcaster can be heard saying, "Oh, the humanity." Those are actually the same famous words that Herbert Morrison, another radio broadcaster, said during the Hindenburg disaster. In case you wanted to know, here is the Disney English dub cast. You had Kirsten Dunst as Kiki, Phil Hartman as Gigi. Now, unfortunately, the tragic taking of his life occurred not too long after this, so they do have an in memoriam for him at the end of this film. Matthew Lawrence as Tombo, Janine Garofalo as Ursula, Tress McNeil as Osono, Debbie Reynolds as the Madam, and Edie McClurg as Bertha. So when it comes to the film Kiki's Delivery Service, this is a very good movie. I would say it's much more of a family film though. I prefer more of the Studio Ghibli where it's more action and adventure, but this one's not bad. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And if you did enjoy this one, other films I recommend checking out are Mary and the Witch's Flower, My Neighbor Totoro, Casper Meets Wendy, and Teen Witch. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. What kind of pie does Kiki help bake and then deliver? It was a herring and pumpkin pot pie, which sounds absolutely revolting to me, but who knows? Maybe it's delicious. If you've ever tried it before, please let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. Feel free to check out the other Studio Ghibli trivia reviews that I've done, and keep an eye out as I will try to remember to do the rest of them throughout this year.